CHAPTER V. Of Man and Nature on the Broads, by Arthur Henry Patterson. Recording is in the public domain. May in Broadland. Humble race of men, alike amphibious, by kind Nature's hand, formed to exist on water and on land. From Life of a Fenman, 1771. The River Yare runs its enormous torrent of dull brown waters, on a sluggish ebb, into the German Ocean. The streams which focus themselves at Breydon, a huge backwater 2,000 acres in extent, are three. The Yare, by some still named the Wensum, which trails its sinuous stream through Norwich and Marshland, continuing its course to the sea; the Bure, draining north east Norfolk; and the Waveney, that divides the county from its neighbour Suffolk. These, with some smaller tributaries, drain some 1,400 square miles of country. Excepting only 3 or 4, all the great freshwater lagoons, now so well known as the Norfolk Broads, are connected with these rivers. They cover nearly 5,000 acres, the rivers offering nearly 200 miles of navigable waterways. Here's El Dorado, indeed, for the yachtsman, the naturalist, and the tourist. And to day we will reach the Broads by water. Smiling May has burst upon us amid the merry music of birds, and clad in a vesture of many tinted greens. The hedgerows are bright with the white scented blossoms of the hawthorn, the thorny stems of the dogrose are adorned with the pale pink petals, and festoons of the climbing honeysuckle fill the air with fragrance. Here the droning bees delight to work, and the light-winged butterflies to dance and coquette. Cowslips dot the meadows, but in many places are far outnumbered by the yellow crowfoot, which children delight to call the buttercup. On the hedge banks the azure blue flowers of the germander are conspicuous, whilst hard by the milkwort is pushing up its pink blossoms, and the humbler red nettle bears them company. Birds are singing their sweetest love songs in bush and tree and hedgerow, and above them soars the plainest bird of all, the blithesome lark, but never a one can outdo him at a roundelay. A bright and almost cloudless day of clear shining tinges all nature with sunshine. Our spirits are in harmony with our surroundings. On such a day as this we would make our way to the Broads. It is early yet for yachting, but more than one white-winged craft shows its great glistening sails above the lowlands that stretch away north and westwards from the town. Those dark brown sails, which seem to rise out of the very marshes and glide this way and that, denote the progress of the quaint Norfolk wherries along the course of the serpentine Bure. Some friends of ours are about to indulge in a day's outing upon the river, and we have accepted their invitation to bear them company as far as they choose to ferry us. Thence we hope to boat our way across one of the largest of the Broads, and return by rail. Behold us bowling along under all canvas, the bonny lapwing cleaving her way in gallant style through the rippling waters, the steady breeze pressing her onward. Splendid boats are these Norfolk yachts, spreading plenty of canvas, with tall tapering masts, long gaffs, and longer bowsprits, with plenty of counter, very little keel, and enormous rudders. They are easy to handle, and in experienced hands are a thing of beauty, and a joy for as long as the breeze holds good. But the bends of the river, as the stream winds its circuitous course, keep the man at the tiller busy. For now we have to get upon this tack, and then upon the other. How bewilderingly the river twisters! We seem from time to time to be heading for every point of the compass. Now we're on our starboard, then our port side, now beating up to windward, then off we go again, spinning along so gaily, our great sails bellying to the wind. Then we tack again, the canvas fluttering like the wing of some sea bird shaking off the spray, until we catch the breeze again, and off we go upon the other tack. But how jolly and exhilarating! What a sense of buoyancy and freedom we feel, unfettered for a while from the conventionalities and the restraints of society and of business. Oh, life is a river, and man is the boat, that over its service is destined to float, while joy's the cargo so easily stored, that he is a fool who takes sorrow aboard. We have left the many gabled town behind us. The lower reaches of the river are flat and uninteresting, the dull level beyond the river banks being relieved here and there only by some grim old pump mill, some marshman's low built homestead, or a stile of gnarly timbers, against which sleek cattle rub their sides and chew the cud. The marshes are alive with cattle. Now we pass a deeply laden wherry, with the skipper, quant at shoulder, shoving her round to catch the breeze, whilst the mate, who mayhap is the good man's missus, is leaning against the tiller. On we glide past riverside villages, with their windmills and ferries and clumps of trees, the monotonously dull flat scenery which, they tell us, savours so much of that which is Dutch. From Stokesby onward the aspect changes for the better, and pretty little nooks and corners, that many an artist has reproduced on canvas, loom into view. Shooting through Acle Bridge with lowered mast, we hoist sail again and still keep bowling along up the Bure till we reach Thurne mouth. Then on again up this tributary, past a picturesque half barn, half farmhouse, upon which a clump of trees cast their shadows, and then past Womack Dyke until we reach Potter Heigham, where we moor. Here, after a jolly luncheon at the famous hostelry which overlooks the river, we bid adieu to our yachting friends, who are bent on making again for the Bure and sailing still further northwards. Gliding along over the clear shallow waters, margined by the yet short young reeds of the year, above which the leafless, tottering stems of an older growth are drooping and fast going to decay, we make for the open Broad. Splashing noises in amongst them tell us that a shoal of bright finned rudd are not far away from us. We are not provided with tackle, or we should not be able to resist the temptation to throw them a baited hook. We fling in a few breadcrumbs, however, and after them dash the bold handsome finners. Rudd love these quiet waters, undisturbed as they are by rapid tides, where the tall reeds nod above sheltered pools. They are sociable fellows with their species. Mayhap they are seeking a spawning ground, for they shed their ova in the early springtime. A splash hard by, as of a huge dog flinging himself into the water, is followed by a speedy dispersal of the shoal. Look, Didn't you see that long-jawed head of a pike rise above the surface, holding between its shark-like teeth one of the luckless fishes? With a swirl of his big forked tail, he is far below and is off to his snug lair, known only to himself, to devour his victim at his leisure. Yonder Noah's Ark-like structure, moored beside the reeded rond, is the hut of an eel catcher. In the stern sheets, just outside his cabin door, sits the occupant, munching his noontide meal. He is a character in his little way, and it will repay us to get wind'ard of him and edge him into a gossip. He wishes us the seal of the day, for your native, gruff as he may be, has a share of inbred politeness. Our boat glides between some curiously perforated boxes, which float round his strange houseboat, and crowds her stem into the wall of rushes at the river margin. A savoury aroma emanates from the cabin, an odour of fried eggs and bacon it is which lies spread upon the old man's platter. A big bit of earthenware has been chipped off it, but sufficient space remains to contain the huge slice of what was once part of an aged porker, if guessing may be reckoned trustworthy, and it is so fat that few besides an eelman's stomach could bear the infliction of digesting it. He sits awhile in silence with the plate upon his knees, but keeps on champing with his remaining tooth stumps. They are on special duty this morning. After a little preamble, a desultory conversation is kept up upon birds and fishes, such as share the wild watery wastes with him, for he has been knowingly reckoning us up with those small grey eyes of his, and we find him not only full of information, but exceedingly communicative. Dinner meanwhile comes to an end, and leaning over the stern of his vessel, he rinses his plate and sundries in the clear waters which float him. Then, tossing off a mug of something that presumably is tea, although it looks uncommonly like liquid blacking, from long standing in the teapot with half a spout upon it, he steps back into the ark and invites us inside for a continuance of our confab. This ain't the sort of shanty you gents are used to, but they suits us folks as they're built for up to the knocker. I don't suppose you'd find their likes out of the county. We look up an old smack's boat, bodge her up a bit, then rig her up with a ruff and surroundin's, and tars 'em, and there you are, 'bor, as nobby a craft as you'll find afloat. These here benches as we're sittin' on sarve for bedsteads. A sack of sweet mesh hay, and a blanket or two to tuck yourself in, and I'll swaller my eel pick if you'll want much rockin' to find yer sleep in this here strong, pure air of Broadland. Yow smile at my jim cracks in the shape of furniture? Well, it ain't much as we want, 'bor. A mug and a basin or two, a teapot, a kettle and a fryin' pan, with a knife and fork so we don't need to eat like Injuns. And what more do you want? Let me rub my sleeve on that bit o' lookin' glass, for it's many a long day as I seed inside it, and the smoke and the steam ha' kind of dullened it. We're rough and ready sort of folks, you know, and livin' out here a lonesome Robinson Crusoe kind of life wipes all the polish off us. I don't hev many wisitors, and a old man ain't many fancies, and if folk don't like it, they ain't obliged to stop. Not as I means yow, gentlemen.' A short clay pipe is found in the deep recesses of one of his waistcoat pockets after much fumbling in its corners. It is harder work, so it appears, to find that with which to load it. There is a hungry look in the old man's eye which seems to ask for ' bacca.' We hand him enough to fill his pipe, not once, but often. The deep old fellow thaws yet more, and after incidentally remarking that ' it's a 2 mile row to get a smoke when baccy ha' got to low water,' he resumes his patter. ' What's them holy boxes outside for? Them's eel trunks. Yow don't need, in course, to ax me what's my profession. Of course yer don't, for half an eye's enough to tell it. Boyin' man, like my father afore me, eel catchin' and a few other oddments, has got me my livin' these 50 year and more, and it's a moderate livin' at most. But I get enough to eat and pay my way, keepin' the old woman's cupboard at home well filled, and what more do a fellow want, only to be thankful to our Heavenly Father as give him the strength and health to appreciate 'em. Babbin's mostly my business just now, and will be till the summer's over and forgotten, and the eels be makin' for the sea. Then we drop eel sets in the river to catch 'em when they're runnin'. The eel sets are suffin' like a big trawl net, with the mouth athwart the river. Into it the skrigglers swim, and down to the poke end they wriggle. In course we take good care, by manes of proper contrivances, to puzzle 'em how to git out agin. Dark, wet September nights are the best for this fishin', especially if a bit of thunder keeps a rumblin'. In a good season tons of eels are taken and sent to the London markets. Them cockneys dote, so they tell me, on 'em. What's babbin' like, 'bor? Well, I'll tell you. It's as aisy if you only knows how. Yow get some worrums, as yow can any damp night when they turn up on the grass to mardle. Yow want a lantern and a tin, and yow want to look lively, for they soon pop in agin. When yow want to bab, yow make a bab. And this is how yow do it. I might as well show you, for I shall be babbin' to night down hinder.' Taking out a tin of lively worms, and finding up some thread and a needle, he begins impaling each unhappy victim, making quite a festoon of them. We try to watch the operation without a shudder. He evidently thinks he is putting the worms to very little inconvenience. Yow then bunch 'em up like so, winding them round his fingers, and tie up in a knot, fix on your sinker, and there you are. Tie the lot on the end of your line, bob it up and down till you feel an eel a chuckin', then heave him up gently and drop him in your boat, which he'll do when his teeth get disentangled. We sometimes catch 2 or 3 stone a night. Sometimes never a eel, 'bor. Them boxes outside we pop 'em into, where they don't seem wery uncomfortable, for the tide goes through 'em, 'cause they're riddled with holes. Then when we want to sell 'em, there you are, you see. What about the winter? Well, we go a pickin' for sich eels as have buried theirselves in the mud, 'bor, for all don't travel seawards. Here's an eel pick. Eels is rum things. Law, they're as big a mystery as anything I knows on. Some say they grows from hoss hairs, some say they've young ends. I don't believe nayther. Why, I've seen under a magnifier what folks calls the fat of the eel, and it's no more nor less than eggs. The ova, as a gent called it, don't grow wery big till the eels are in the deep seas, where they spawn, goodness only knows where. And where the old 'uns go after is just as big a wonder. Anyway, I've seed little totty eels not bigger nor darnin' needles, and yow can see through 'em comin' up the shallows from the sea in thousands in the spring time. Much more eel lore is dispensed, which space forbids to detail. As we are leaving the old man in his lonesome hut to step into our boat, a kingfisher dashes off the end of an oar which has been lying akimbo, and, with a startled scream, is lost in a bend in the reed bed. Some tiny scales sparkle upon the blade, which we examine more closely. The kingfisher, unnoticed by us and accustomed, perhaps, to the eel babber's voice, had evidently been fishing from our oar blade. Here is certainly proof positive that he has had a little fish for dinner. Some coots that have waxed bold enough to venture out in the open disappear as if by magic, and a couple of red-billed moorhens dash off with more precipitancy than caution, trailing their feet in the water as they widen the distance between us. Yonder flies a heron. Let us row for the far side of the Broad. But for the sounds of bird life, the quietude would become oppressive. Such strange music is borne on the wings of the wind, harsh wild cries, jarring notes, and the sweeter sounds of bird song. It is the season of love. Each little songster is vying with its fellows in making cheerful harmony. Even the rooks in the tall trees yonder seem to think their efforts praiseworthy. But they are appropriate to the scenery around, as are the harsh notes of the grebes and waterfowl. The reed bunting and the sedge warbler and many another of their kindred from oversea are present with us. Some are flitting in among the branches of the trees which border the mossy swamps that margin the Broad. Others are busy in among the remnant of reed stems, seeking a location for safe nesting. Many are already engrossed with the cares of domestic life. We pull round a bend in the interminable reed bed and find ourselves in a quiet corner of the Broad. It is a veritable little straits, connecting this one with another. Willows are reflecting their pointed leaves in its depths, reeds and sedges in its sunny recesses are growing more luxuriantly than in the open Broad. A rickety footbridge spans the farther end, and on it is sitting a hawk-like bird, which presently takes to flight. Its ringing notes betray its identity. It is a cuckoo. Some lapwings pass overhead. They are nesting in an adjacent meadow. Hush! Do you not see that big brown creature sitting beside a bank on a boulder of grass-fringed soil that has broken away from it? It is an otter. Gently, just peep at him through these glasses. He is busy at dinner. That fish he appears enjoying so much is undoubtedly a tench. The otter knows where good fish and quietude are to be had. There now, he has spied us, and with the slightest effort and without a splash he has dived into the water, and will not come up until he has reached his lair in some rush-covered corner. House martins and swallows are dashing to and fro, as they have been all day long. Here they appear to be especially busy, for many a lace-winged fly is taking its earliest springtime airing, and larvae cases floating upon the surface of the water are familiar objects to the lynx-eyed naturalist. There is a shoal of small gudgeon. They are feasting merrily upon heedless little insects which appear to delight in touching the water in their joyous play. Gnats and midges are among the number. There goes, high overhead, a swift, and another. Hearken to their wild screaming. Don't you see that moorhen peering out from behind that willow bole? He has a nest somewhere close by it. Let us paddle up and see if we can find it. The cunning thing has vanished, but here is its inartificial nest. It is made of reed flags and sedges matted together. 9 buffish white eggs, dotted with red brown, contain the fondest hopes of most attentive parents. A faint peepy cry emanates from among them. Why, one egg is chipping, and a tiny pair of red mandibles are poking their way into a world of trouble. If half of those black downy chicks, which will soon be demanding incessant care and attention, escape the onslaughts of pike and a host of other enemies, they will do well. We may not loiter to inspect the swamp where the white swans are nesting. If we do, we shall not be welcomed by them, nor hunt for a great grebe's floating egg basket. Much that we see and do must remain unknown, save by ourselves, for our space forbids it. We could linger yet, but the time has sped, and our watches are pointing well towards train time. Behold us at eventide in the middle of May, sculling in a gun punt up Breydon, making for one of the drains, which at low water vein its muddy breast. The tide is rising, and the flats by the 100 acres are disappearing below the flood. Here and there the lumps, still dry and uncovered, are gradually growing less in area. Strange whistles and call notes are heard, as many a long-legged wading bird is ousted from its feeding ground and compelled to seek a drier location, for when too deep for walking it must needs swim or flit, which latter it prefers to do. The spring migration has set in, and many a northward bound bird drops in upon us, amongst them the whimbrel, knot, and dunlin, the turnstone, grey plover, and pygmy curlew, and many another. These, attracted by so fine a feeding ground, drop in a while and refresh themselves, and proceed upon their journey. Many a rarer bird, attired in its springtime best, mingles with the commoner herd, but close time has thrown its protecting clauses around them, and they remain unmolested by the gunner who envies them their jackets. The bird stuffer now loses his richest plumage specimens. There was no close season until well into the 70s. Let us draw to the highest of the lumps. All else is covered with the water. Here the birds are making their last stand prior to betaking themselves to the marshes, the seashore, or still farther away. What a medley of notes and what a concourse of birds are before us. There runs a turnstone, there are 6 of them at least. Those mellow call notes denote the presence of several ringed plovers, and their black gorgets also betray them. Grey plovers, some curlews, dunlins, and others are also identified. What sooty long-winged birds are they which now dropped in at the water's edge? They are black terns, and the species once nested in Broadland. And those pearly-backed, swallow-like seabirds with them are Arctic terns. They are tame enough, poor things. What havoc a gunner might make in their serried ranks. Day after day, till the month is out, will such birds be seen if the winds blow fair, from the east at any point. With westerly winds continuously blowing, fewer and fewer birds will put in an appearance. He is a lucky man who chance time sees here the beautiful avocet, the quainter spoonbill and the lordly stork. The day is spent, darkness covers all, and nothing now denotes the presence of the birds but their weird, wild notes. CHAPTER VI.